Yes, they can.
Excellent.
I think so.
Yes, and that's what we're going to do today. That's our theme. Yes, you can. Yes, we can. Si se puede. Right here on Turning Left. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of Turning Left. I am Jay Snell. Of course, with me, he is the Knight of the Progressive Roundtable.
Wow, that's a good one.
Sir Richard.
Hey, great to be here. And where is my sword anyway?
Well, we got one in the mails done through the Sears and Roebuck catalog. Only problem is we weren't actually specific on it. And so they sent us like a 7-foot-old Scottish Claymore, and we figured we're going to have to send it back, to have it tailor custom fitted for you.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Well, in that case, I won't have to bring my Japanese ceremonial sword.
You may want it just to be safe, in case we all get so worked up over, Donald, that by the end of the show we have to all commit a mass, seppuku,
Oh, right. No, I'd rather just do what John Belushi did and bang on tables with it.
Why not? Sure. I don't think this thing's going to hold up, though. But
no,
anyway.
It's my table, too, so.
That's right. What a week, folks. What a week. Get a load of this. Donald Trump, in the last 24 hours, has freaked out more than... Oh, geez. Probably a whole convention of Jehovah's Witnesses, I think. Maybe that.
Who knows? I mean...
Well, it started at the National Jamboree of
Boy
Scouts. And listen, hey, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not going to diss on any Boy Scouts because, hey, listen, when you're a young kid, right, you're out there in a crowd and someone tells you, hey, the President of the United States is going to come and show up and talk, right?
Right.
Those kids are so jazzed, all right, sweet, this is
right,
great.
We're talking about kids, so you're talking about high school, junior in high school, sophomore in high school, and lower.
Right. And so I figure, they're out in the crowd, they're getting jazzed, they see the president. The president could say anything, right?
He did.
And he proved it. And, the kids would either, clap on command, or when he tries to get them to boo, they just going with it because they're in the moment.
Right, and they had the guys with the cue cards going applause and boo.
Right. And I know for a fact that there was no written speech when he got up there, too, because he gets up there, stares at this mass sea of Boy Scouts, pure Americana as far as the eye can see, and then just vomits verbal pablum into the crowd.
Right. And unfortunately, they don't know what to do, and the Boy Scouts of America have not seemed to send him a nasty note saying, you shouldn't have done that. We don't like you for that. However, since they're trying, they need his sign-off on a mega merger.
That's what I heard, too, that there's an intriguing little side thing going on that may have just played a part into inviting our buffoon-in-chief in the first place.
Most likely.
Yes.
Political trade-off.
And so, the president last night, he decided he was going to hold a pep rally.
Yes.
Because that's what it is, folks. Nowadays, it's just a high school pep rally, right? You show up in the gym, you sit down, you're like, all right, I wonder if they're going to talk about the football team, or, hey, I wonder how the track team's doing. And he gets up there and, he starts just going off, right? Well, there's two things of note to talk about. First, he tells people that, hey, people have been saying that maybe when I'm done here, I'll be on the face of Mount Rushmore, I could do that, right? Right, crowd? I could do that, right? Mount Rushmore. But I better not say that because the fake news will write about it, so I'm not, even though he just did.
Right. And, well, the only thing that's going to show up is a big asshole on Mount Rushmore.
Can you imagine that there's Washington, right? There's Jefferson.
There's Roosevelt.
And then there's the Sphincter. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that visitation to Mount Rushmore after Trump's sphincter is permanently plastered on the side of the mountain, I think they'll go down about 2,000%. I don't even know if that's possible, but if it is, it'll happen. Oh, there it is right there. Donald Trump on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln's giving him the death stare. Jefferson is basically looking off into space. He's giving a 1,000-yard stare.
Teddy Roosevelt would shoot him in the head.
No, he's replaced Teddy Roosevelt.
He's replacing Teddy Roosevelt?
Teddy Roosevelt, and there's George Washington, like, with the literally, I'm the first president, what in the hell am I doing here, look, you know? Who is this clown? Well, then, not to be outdone by the Mount Rushmore remark, he goes on to tell the crowd that he is the most presidential president in history, except for the late, great Abraham Lincoln.
Now, obviously, his history lesson in grade school was very short.
Yeah, he was probably mail order, you know.
It could have been. I don't know if he actually got past grade school, because if you look at most of his tweets, none of them are more than 5 characters long.
Yeah. Here's to you, Mr. President, in your 4th grade, you know, reading level. Sweet. No, there's another one. Mount Rushmore, a new Mount Rushmore. There's Donald Trump. I see George W. Bush there. Oh, Richard Nixon's in the house. And what is that? Herbert Hoover?
Yes.
That's Hoover. Yeah, of course, folks, if you don't know who Hoover was, he was the guy right before the Great Depression. And they used to call those shanty camps that sprung up Hoovervilles.
Well, he was the most despised president in American history up to that time.
But things are changing by the day,
hey,
right?
you know, Trump has displaced every idiot there ever was.
And then, of course, fresh this morning, he told in I believe it was a news conference.
It was a news conference.
Snap decision to ban transgender troops
from the military without asking any of the Joint Chiefs, which have a whole policy they've written over the years. They have SEAL teams, of which a member or two are transgendered. You know, the military is probably thinking this is going to cost us millions and millions of dollars, because a lot of people, they're going to have to retrain or find new people to put in those places. And retraining is not something you go through like a 6-day work camp. We're talking years of training.
I agree. And the last thing I want to talk about before we get to the slated headlines we're going to cover is what do you make of this new guy, Scaramucci, the Mooch?
Well, he reminds me of Scaramago in a James Bond film, who was a paid assassin. But basically, the guy has done 180 because he thought that Trump was the biggest buffoon ever 2 years before he got elected. And now he's kissy face, and basically all you're seeing is a different box full of lies.
It's great. I mean, this guy gets up there, and he's got his pinky ring on too, right? He got the pinky ring, which, hey, I got nothing against pinky rings, you know. But he gets up there, you know, in the sharkskin suit. You know, he's looking like he's straight off the set of The Sopranos.
Bling Central.
Yeah, and he's got that deep Brooklyn accent. Yeah, yo, way. You know, like he's like the 5th member of Sha-Na-Na, right? Like, yo, way. You know, the president said this. And they give him the nickname The Mooch.
Well, that's because that's what he is.
Yeah. How bad is it as American culture in general? How far have we slidden that our White House communications director has the nickname of the Mooch?
Well, we're so far down under, we're looking up to see Australia.
Right. 6 feet below Australia.
Well, that's being generous.
Well, yeah. Plus, I don't have a ruler on me, so I'll take your word for it.
Hey, my word is gold.
That's right.
Or platinum.
Folks, Senate secures the vote to start the debate on Trump Care. A lot of people were dismayed by that. A lot of people have mixed feelings about that. Of course, John McCain showed back up on the Senate floor and gave a rousing tra-la-la speech. And again, I'm not going to trash McCain, even though I have fundamental
disagreements,
differences with him on it. But, you know, he gave a rousing speech, and then 15 minutes later, he go ahead and votes with McConnell, basically.
Right, and that bill was just to allow debate to occur. Mm-hmm. Had that bill not passed, it would have died right there and then. There would have been no debate. Mm-hmm. And Trump threatened a senator, which I thought, wow, I can't believe the senator just didn't go up, pull his pants down, and give him a big moonshine.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure what happened was between McConnell giving away the store to Trump's threatening them, which is ridiculous because he can't threaten a senator. They're only elected every 6 years, not 4 years, you moron. It shows you the depravity of where America has gone, and its government is leading the way into the toilet.
It is just they did believe it or not, they did a first vote yesterday or late last night.
Yeah.
It got whacked by I think seven votes. It was, of course, the Trump Care bill plus with the Cruz and Portman amendments tacked on the end.
Right.
And they couldn't stomach it. And today, I'm going to stay right up to it, folks, as we're going on, because they're expected to have, they're talking about 3 more votes today. And so we'll see what's going on, and we will keep you abreast as it keeps happening. So stick with us. So gear up for that. The debate, when I first heard about it in this sort of procedural sort of vote, right?
Right.
I said to myself, well, maybe that's a good thing. They get it on the floor in front of the cameras, in front of the God and everybody, and then they have to actually defend their stance, and basically they have no plan, so they have no stance other than just that we need to fulfill a campaign promise of 7 years, right?
Right. Plus, unfortunately, there's a bunch of senators who are in kind of purplish states who may not be there because of their vote, and they're well aware of that. That's why they're running the other way. They don't want to be seen voting for it. So you'll see a bunch of folks who happen to be absent the day of the vote.
Right. They just suddenly got somewhere else they need to be, Yeah, I got to go back to home constituency. There's a Tupperware party going on somewhere in my district.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh! And then I believe one of the senators that refused, Murkowski.
Yes.
She afterwards, I guess Trump just railed on her, just said the most horrific stuff.
Right.
And so I'm gonna have to dig a little deeper because that leaked out this morning, and I was getting my beauty sleep.
Well, it's interesting that U.S. senators who really do serve longer than the president, why are they that thin-skinned that they can't just blow it off and not care what the heck he says?
Yeah, I think most of them do. I mean, obviously, when you get to be a senator, you've been through the unless you're like Trump and never had any experience at all. You would think that they've been through the game. They've been to the rodeo a few times.
Yeah.
So I think that they built. I mean, it's not going to bother them at all, except to have to constantly being in front of the camera defending the fact that some a man-child decided he just wants to. Throw shade at you.
Well, and they have to go, even senators have to go back and visit their constituents throughout the state. They can't just go to an area or a district that's all Republican. They have to go to every district,
right, because
that's the nature of how the Senate gets voted in.
Right. And when I first saw that, I said, okay, all right, they could do it. But then I started thinking, man, what are the rules to the game here now? Right now that we're in the trenches and in the pits of the Senate floor, what are the rules to the game? Because there's kind of mixed messages. Some people say, well, on most of the votes, they're going to have to go to a 60 vote, right? They're going to have to.
No.
Some people say, no, they don't have to. They can just change and go for the 50, right? And so, literally, folks, we may not be as secure as we think. Well, surely they'll vote it down. And yeah, I know that you was a tiebreaker just to talk about it, but sure, now it's procedural, right? So surely cooler heads are going to prevail.
Nah.
Since it's universally disliked at what, a 15% approval rating?
Right. Pence had to step in to break the tie just to get the debate to the floor.
Right. So, but I'm wondering, how much faith do I have on these purple Republicans that they are actually going to keep their conscience and be worried about what's going to happen to them, the political ramifications if they go ahead and are seen a part of this nightmare.
Well, 33 million Americans are going to beat them over the head with a stick. And one of the things about senator, which probably is the top post in government next to the president, it's the one where it's the cushiest. They deliberate longer. They do less in some respects. Yeah. And they really set some policies that the House generally has to follow, because the Senate can create bills and send them to the House.
Yeah.
To work on. So it's a pretty august little system there, becoming very disgusting.
Right. But what I'm worried about is it seems like the rules and the protocols and the parameters of all the procedures and the ways of doing things and the ways of doing things in the Senate are just being kind of shown that they can be trampled on with little or no thought.
Right, because primarily the Senate rules were built by the very first U.S. Senate, and they have been added to and amended and all that stuff, but they're not truly a part of the Constitution of what the Senate's job is. So for years and years and years, the filibuster rule in the Senate said you had to have 61 votes to break any filibuster. Yeah. And then in the modern times, because the guys got lazy, they said, well, they'd go and see if they had 61 or 60 votes, and people would just say, I'm not going to vote for it. But nobody would get up to filibuster until Jeff Merkley stood up to try to filibuster, talking for, 15 straight hours?
Pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah. And so that was the first true filibuster speech given in the Senate in at least 2 decades.
And I love that passion, and I love some of, especially most of the protests going on. I love that passion. People are starting to become more engaged. And I really, truly believe, folks, that you need to be more engaged right now, this minute, this second. I think this next week is going to be a pivotal moment in the short and mid-range of American history.
A lot of people are going to get hurt. I mean, we're talking millions, tens of millions of people are going to get hurt. Tens of millions of people are going to be at a loss for what to do. Hundreds of thousands will die needlessly because they either can't afford, or are unable to find someone that will help them out medically,
right, because
they don't have insurance and there's no Medigap or Medicaid safety net left.
Isn't that such a scary prospect that the safety nets that people have learned to lean on, that they know that if the poop hits the fan, that they'll have some recourse, and all this uncertainty. I mean, no wonder. It's just not hyperbole, folks. People are scared out of their friggin' minds.
Yes, they are.
And that's why, folks, I'm going to give you some food for thought here as this healthcare debate rages on the Senate floor. I want you to ask yourself where you stand as far as, are you comfortable with the fact that literally up to 30 some odd million people are going to have their health care jerked away from them? Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with the fact that your parents, who if you're a boomer like I am, well, actually I'm Generation X, but close enough.
That's close enough.
And are you comfortable with the fact that your parents who will need long-term health, as we've seen as we've gone through life, are you comfortable with the fact that those safety nets and those recourses that we were just talking about are not going to be there? Are you comfortable with that?
That's the death panel.
That's the death panel. Are you comfortable with the fact that the government, especially the GOP side of the government, is basically telling you, screw you. We don't care.
Rand dropped dead, basically.
Basically, yeah, because this isn't a health care. They're not giving you, Trump Care isn't giving you anything. It's not the Affordable Care Act where they said, okay, we are going to open things up. We're going to Medicaid expansion. We're going to offer more choices and better choices, more prolific choices.
Which were supposed to reduce the cost of insurance. And actually, at the start, it did.
It did. It did. There are literally thousands and millions of stories out there that have actually percolated up and got into the national conversation about, I would be dead if I didn't have the ACA.
Oh. Not to mention all the children on that are disabled will no longer have access to that kind of medication or the services they need to survive.
Yeah, if you have cancer or any pre-existing condition, you're also thrown right back into the no insurance pool, which probably is not a great pool to be in. I'm not sure how much they clean the pool and use chlorine.
They don't.
So, folks, I want you to ask yourself, are you comfortable with that, right? Are you comfortable sitting there in silence? And I understand you got busy lives and you got other things going on. It's in the middle of summer, the weather's nice, and I just want to go outside and frolic in a park.
Hey, you have to remember who brought these bills to make them real. Yeah. And it was the people who fought in World War II that wanted America to be a friendlier place that was secure and that people didn't have to worry about things like this. They gave their lives to make sure that their children and their grandchildren had access to health care, to a fair system where people got jobs based on merit. The memory of all those people should hang heavy on the head of anybody that thinks this is a great idea.
I agree. And folks, a quick historical note I'm going to tack on at the end there is a large, talking point for the right is, this is socialism, right? This is socialism. We don't want this. This is not what America's all about. Folks, if you're worried about the big bad S word of socialism, we've had socialism in this country ever since we passed Social Security. Think about it.
Actually, we had it a little before that, but yes, that was the way, and it was passed because seniors were starving to death at atrocious numbers because of what happened during the Great Depression, and Congress, Republicans and Democrats stepped in to say we can't have our grandmothers and grandfathers dying of starvation because they don't have recourse to get any help.
Hey, listen, man, it's all part of making America great again, right?
Somehow that just doesn't ring very true.
Right. Okay, also, folks, in the news lately is the giant, I call it lover's squabble between our Mango Mussolini and Jeff Sessions, our esteemed Attorney General.
Fascist that he is.
I love it. This has devolved into a high school relationship dating crisis, right?
High school? I thought it was grade school.
Well, okay. Yeah, let's go grade school. That's even better. They're outdoor school, and, I can't believe Bobby's cheating on me with Tina. And, he is just so mean. I love it. Trump gets up there and he starts railing in public forums about, Sessions. And it's almost like he's just calls him beleaguered. And and he's like, I can't, my man is so weak. He's so weak. He can't stand up for himself. He's not a real man. And this is just developed into some sort of 90210, Beverly Hills sort of. In fact, I want to apologize to the people of Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be
They just got lumped
upset
into that. Yeah. Who did that? Aaron Spelling, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, and Sessions is he is a fascist. He's doing everything in his power to strip away rights from people, regular Americans. We're not talking some splinter groups here and there,
Right.
but regular Americans. You now, even if you're not convicted of a crime or charged with a crime, he is allowing the police to seize your property without notice.
That's right. So I called the segment "Save the Drama for Your Mama." And but it's all taken on this whole Trumpian sort of grade school-esque just drama, right?
Well, for me, it's one of those things where it's just a little more smoke and mirrors, something that the media can chomp on and say, oh my gosh, is Sessions going or is it not going? I don't think he's going anywhere, mostly because he has the support of Tillerson, who's the Secretary of State. And Trump, if he can't find anything else to whine about, he'll whine about his own people because he's loyal to no one but himself.
So one of the assistant staff members of Jeff Sessions marched up to Reince Priebus, the White House chief of staff, and observers have said that the staffer told Reince Priebus that Jeff Sessions, he used the P word. Sessions is pissed. He wanted me to come up and tell you that I'm going to fall over dead before I resign the Attorney General. And hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not sympathizing with Sessions. Sessions is a bigot. He's
racist.
He is the worst of the worst of the worst of the Republican Party. Okay?
Yes, he is.
And folks, what I want to get, I guess what I want to get my point across to you today is that there is a bigger game that's going on here, okay? Sessions had to recuse himself not because he thought it was his deep moral obligation.
No, he was dirty.
To do the right thing. No, there are ethics laws within the government that states if you feel that you are or could be a conflict of interest, you must recuse yourself. And that was told to him in very strong language by the Office of Government Ethics, and he went ahead and recused himself. Trump now, because he is being cornered by former FBI head Robert Muller as the special, let's call it what it is. He's the special prosecutor, okay?
Yep.
He's now angry at Jeff Sessions because he recused himself. He's been going around telling everyone who will listen that had he known that Sessions was going to recuse himself, he would have hired him, right? Which is basically now admitting even more obstruction of justice because, oh yeah, by the way, I'm mad at you because you chose to follow the law. And I don't want you in there, and I think that you're a bad, and it's sad, using Trump language, right?
Right.
So, if he can get Sessions to either resign, which I don't think is going to happen, or
he's going to have to fire him.
He's going to have to fire Sessions, because, folks, the grand scheme of things is he wants to fire Bob Mueller.
Right.
This is all the end game.
Right.
And the problem is, there's just a teeny tiny little problem with that, and that's the fact that the president cannot fire Mueller himself.
Correct.
And so he has to go through the AG to make it happen. Well, the AG has decided that, I like this job. I was a senator for, 20 years?
Yes.
And this is supposed to be my cushy,
going out gig. Yeah, he was a senator from Alabama.
Yeah. Roll Tide. Anyway, no, so this is supposed to be his golden time, right? I've been a senator. I've done it. This is going to be the creme de la creme climax peaking moment of my, history, that I'm going to be the AG and then go fade off into the sunset.
Right, and he can do whatever he wants now because unlike in the Senate where you have all those other senators that can vote against you, as the AG he can make a pronouncement like he's going after sanctuary cities and nobody's there to stop him.
Right. So, folks, I really get the feeling that we are looking at probably a week away, I'm thinking, of another Saturday night massacre. I think it's going to come down to that because I don't think Sessions is going to. I think Sessions now has his back up against the wall, and he's not going to go gently into that good night.
He has no reason to.
And so you've seen Trump ramp up the ridicule and the insults on Sessions day by day by day by day, trying to shame him into resignation.
Yeah, and Sessions, basically, if he doesn't have a thick skin by now, why would he even bother responding, like saying I'm pissed? He doesn't need to care. They can't get rid of him unless they fire him.
Right. But he does have thick skin, and plus, not a lot of people know this. But he has an extra layer of padding because I've heard those KKK sheets are actually pretty thick, right?
Probably.
So I don't know, but
he was a member.
And he was, yeah. He's up to his...
Probably still is a member.
Yeah, he's up to his earlobes and...
dirt.
You got it's a little more than dirt, but...
Well, yeah, but...
It's a family show.
Exactly.
Right. Last thing I want to touch on before we get to Sir Richard's Putz of the Week is there's an intriguing story that's kind of been sidelined because of just the crap show of the, of the Trump, of the Gong Show featuring Donald Trump.
Right.
And that is the looming specter of North Korea.
Yes, North Korea, ruled by the Young family, Kim Jong-un, which followed his father, which followed his grandfather, and he's been shown to be as ruthless as they come. Basically, what they're trying to do is what they tried to do for practical purposes, Hitler in World War II, which was to get him out of the way by spiking his food and making him more female or something like that. Basically, removing him from the button.
Right, yeah. So there's been a round of new sort of threats made by Kim Jong-un. Basically, in a nutshell, folks, he basically said, if there's any problems, I will nuke the U.S.
Right, which is, for practical purposes, he'd be lucky if he could hit Alaska.
He'd be lucky if he can hit himself.
Well, but the nuke thing is, in his mind, he is far bigger than what he is in reality. Second, China's not going to sit by and let him pull that off because, gosh, America happens to be China's number one trading partner. What do you think? They get all that money to invest in all the things they want to invest in to keep their populace happy.
Right. Sir Richard, funny that you mentioned China because this is what caught my eye with the whole North Korean, new round of threats by North Korea. Very quietly, China has rearranged a lot of their units and beefed up defenses on their border.
Yes, they have.
And that bothers me.
Well, push comes to shove. North Korea gets all of its supplies, from China. Were China to cut off its supplying oil and food to Kim Jong-un, there would be a large problem, especially since the Korean military is a lot closer with the Chinese military than Un is with the Chinese leaders. They basically are not even paying him lip service anymore, and they've come down on him pretty hard with pretty harsh statements about stop being behaving like a child.
I agree, and I've always thought the antenna goes up when you see any action at all out of China because they are the Weathervane in that sphere of influence.
Yes.
And when they start rearranging their defenses on the border and beefing it up, obviously, folks, that means that they are at least giving serious, credible thought about something happening in the near future.
Right, and their biggest fear is having 2 or 3 million North Koreans flood the border into China, and then China has an internal problem, which they don't want to have. So by beefing up the border, they're effectively blocking and closing it off for anybody wanting to get out of North Korea.
Right.
So the noose is getting tighter and tighter around Un's rather bulbous head.
Yeah, and I've always, a more cynical part of me, have always believed ever since Trump took the oath of office on January 20th that I'm expecting, and still am, even more than before, I'm expecting a Reichstag fire. That I think there's something going to be coming down the line that's going to be trying to be a huge national distraction other than the metaphorical noose tightening around his neck as Muller continues to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
Right. And one of the other things that China also is very aware of is Japan and South Korea are big trading partners with China also.
Yeah.
China basically is a capitalist-run system with a socialist icing on it. They are not thrilled about Un saying, I'll nuke Seoul, I'll nuke Tokyo, because that would hurt China immensely.
Right. Well, yeah, and in North Korea, up to this point, when they became like a credible nuclear force, they were always treated, as the wacko neighbor who, makes weird things on his grill at 3 a.m, throws his trash over on the neighbor's yard and generally runs amok. But now the crazy neighbor who acts really erratic has nukes.
Well, I think they're looking back and realizing that the Chinese government anyway, and the leaders, that they made a big mistake by not coming out very strongly and immediately telling them, stop the nuke process, or no food, no oil, no medicine, no clothing, nothing. We'll let your populace starve to death, just like your father did for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, they have to be scratching their heads and going, oh, man, we should have stopped this when we could have. Now we have a huge problem.
It's now come back to haunt us. And I'm worried, though, that when you throw something that is so wacky into the mix, but you use to drive it with political purposes because you want to take the attention away from an independent investigation into your various shady shenanigans.
Right.
It makes the whole North Korea problem just could be handled differently, but I truly think at the end of the day, Trump is just going to pull one of his things, and it's going to head us into a problem that we could have handled differently had we taken our time to think about all the various angles of trying to deal with.
Right, and you really, in essence, you don't need to squeeze on the Chinese to do something about it. I'm sure they have been talking for years about what the heck are we really going to do with this guy that has no interest in our best interests. And when it comes to that in China, they don't look very kindly on it. So I think what they're trying to do is muddle their way out of a big mess, and they don't appreciate that Donna Kahn is trying to pressure them more when they're under enough pressure already.
Right. I was going to do a fourth story today, but I think we're going to hold that over for next week. We are running a little bit behind the times.
It's that clock ticking in the background.
It is that proverbial clock ticking, but at this point, I want to gleefully sit back and and wonder who in the heck is Sir Richard's Putz of the week. I think I included this week the graphic of the Sir Richard's Putz of the week. Let's go ahead
there it is.
Toss that up there for you. Ba-ba-da-da. Sir Richard's Putz of the Week. Sir Richard, take it away.
Well, once again, so many choices, so little time. What can I say? But I had to come down to the biggest hypocrite I could see of the moment. So this week's World's Greatest Putz of the Year award goes to John, the not-so-maverick McCain, for selling up to 33 million Americans down the river of no health care. He flew in after getting brain surgery at the Mayo Clinic, which most people in America couldn't afford to be at, to bring his final vote to vote for continuing debate on the Senate floor. Had the vote failed there, it would have been instantly deceased, but it wasn't. So basically, he took his gold-plated health care system, which gives him everything he possibly could ask for. He didn't go to a VA clinic, folks. He went to the Mayo Clinic, a top-rated brain and cancer hospital.
And I want to break in real quick, folks. For the few Trumpers out there that like Donald Trump, I want to explain to you that the Mayo Clinic doesn't have anything to do with mayonnaise. Please continue.
Thank you. Yes, no mayo. Yes, mustard possibly. But having that whole several $100,000 worth of surgery cost him zip. Nothing, nada. Not one other American outside of Congress, and the president obviously, could afford that kind of health care where it didn't cost them anything. It's kind of like the British system where you go get what you need, it doesn't cost you anything. So today, it's John, not so maverick, McCain, as this week's World's Greatest Putz of the Year award winner, and we'll be sending him his due.
Literally, doo-doo. As in flaming bag of doo-doo on the front porch. And then we'll run away gleefully,
I'm sure his Tea Party opponent, who is trying to get him to step down already, will probably do that for us.
Oh, have you seen some of the ugly things that I don't have the name of the opponent, but just almost wishing death.
Oh, she is definitely a fascist, and McCain wrote himself into this play by being ridiculous.
Right, yeah. So, John McCain, you were this week's Sir Richard's Putz of the Week. Congratulations. You are in very unesteemed company.
Very much so.
There you go.
The pile grows larger.
Right.
And the stink gets bigger.
It does. It does. You know what else, though? For the longest time, I've been teasing that we have a brand spanking new turning left pole.
Oh,
and because of some of the things that's been going on the last week or two, I haven't been able to kind of get her in there. But the last round of polling was just done. By our multi minions hit the streets of Portland and surrounding areas, and they have come back with some interesting data points.
I'm ready for it.
And I did this a little different this time. I said, usually we just take the 10 best responses and we use that. But I said, no. We've got to be more scientific of this. I told him, listen, if we're going to do polls in the future, I want pie charts.
Hey, we got a plus or minus 3 degrees of accuracy.
That's right. Well, ours is 78.8% accuracy.
That's close enough.
Who doesn't? Anyway, so I said, I'm going to devise 4 questions. 4 questions. And I want you to hit the streets all over the metro area, downtown, you name it. And I want you to ask these questions, and I want the answers, and I want to break them down into percentages. And the minion said, will do. And so I did. Here's the 4 questions. The first question is, should Trump resign? Okay, I wanted a nice macro question out there to start things off.
Sounds reasonable.
Well, the facts are in. The poll is in. 93% of people polled said yes, Trump should resign. 4% said no, and 2% asked, do we have any weed? Okay. You got to remember, it's downtown.
It's downtown Portland, yeah, okay.
So 93 yes, 4% no, 2% hey, got any weed? Okay. That's the first one. So that's I thought that was very, very interesting. So let's move on to the second one. The second question was, would you vote for Trump again? And I did this for just the Trump voters.
Right.
Okay? So we had a tough time tracking down enough Trump voters, especially when we hit the downtown region. And so let's throw that up there. Would you vote for Trump again? Okay, 2% said yes.
Wow.
Yes, 5% said not sure. Jury's still out, right? 94% said, I would rather get a colon cleanse using a porcupine.
That's a sticky wicket.
Yeah, so it wasn't just a no. It just wasn't a hell no. It was a, I would rather get a colon cleanse using a porcupine. Okay. Very scientific, folks. Don't ask questions about it. It's all scientific. It's above board. It's all good. Let's move on to number 3. All right. The third question is the Russian investigation a witch hunt? Okay. And I threw it back open to the Trump supporters, to the non-Trump supporters, everyone. Okay. Is the Russian investigation a witch hunt? Well, 2% said no. 3% said not sure. Okay. And you know what? I'm just getting in my ear. This question was just for the Trump supporters.
Oh.
Okay, just was Trump, so it makes more sense now. 2% said no, 3% said not sure, and a whopping 95% of Trump supporters said, I hate Russian witches, oh yeah, and Obama too. So that's, listen, I'm not in control of the information. This is all people giving us their thoughts. And, hey, listen, I'm not responsible for it. Isn't that what all great schemes go down in history as? Hey,
well,
I'm not responsible
works for polling places.
Right. Finally, the fourth question we asked, again, was for the Trump supporters. Because, we always talk about, geez, how could they think the way they think? What's going on? I want to get inside their heads and figure out if there's anything there. But what sort of rationality is for all this stuff, right? And so I did that. The fourth question was, what is the most important issue to you? What is the most important issue to you?
Great question.
Great question. Okay, well, 2% said the economy. The economy was the most important issue to them. 4% said building the wall. Building the wall was extremely important to them, 4%. A whopping 93% of all Trump supporters said that the most important issue to them was declaring Honey Boo Boo a national treasure. So, I mean, now that we've gotten in their heads, right?
That says a lot about where their heads are at.
That's right. So, folks,
don't pull that lever.
Yeah, don't push the button. It turns into a Dr. Strangelove moment. All right, folks, if you downtown Portland or you're in the metro area and you see young geeky kids walking up to you with clipboards asking you really weird questions, don't freak out. It's not the IRS. Don't freak out. It's not guys canvassing for some piece of legislation. It's only the Turning Left crack R&D intern staff doing their jobs.
Hey, you got to give them credit. They're interns. That means unpaid.
And there's some confusion about that when they went out because, as you know, we do have a few buttons, NuzBox buttons and everything identifying.
Right.
And so Doc, he handed them out to the interns, said, hey, here's some NuzBox, identify yourself. But we ran out of them. So we only had a few left, and we handed the rest of them various buttons like I love cheese. And pull my finger.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, if some weird kid walks up to you with a I love cheese, so it's Turning Left guys. That's right. Right. So there you go, folks. That is the poll. The poll is up on the Facebook Turning Left page. Get on up there. You can comb over all the facts, reach your own conclusions. Remember, we report, you decide.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Isn't that another channel?
Yes, that's PBS.
PBS, we report, you decide. All right. Fox News. Anyway, moving on. So this week we have another cause of the week, Sir Richard.
Hey, I'm ready to hear what the good cause is.
Yep, and I wanted to go a little different this week. So, taking a drink.
Bubbly.
It is the Oregon Jewish Museum.
Really?
Yes, nonprofit Oregon Jewish Museum. The Jewish Museum is the Pacific Northwest's only Jewish museum located in the region's second largest metropolitan area. The Oregon Jewish Museum's mission is dedicated to the preservation, research, and exhibition of art, archival materials, and artifacts of the Jewish people. It is the repository for archival concerning the history of the Jews in Oregon and endeavors to discover and collect all materials that may help to illuminate this history and furthering its mission. So this is the Oregon Jewish Museum, and if you would like to go visit it, hey, maybe volunteer, I don't know, if you have any questions, anything of that nature, you can do so, of course. Their website is www.ojm.org, and if you want to call them on the phone, you can. Hey, it's 503-226-3600, once again, 503-226-3600, and if you even want to go there and visit it in person, they are located at 1953 Northwest Kearney Street, Portland, Oregon, 97209. So there you go.
Very timely, because this yesterday morning, I believe there was a big banner unfurled over one of the overpasses at 205 that said basically 9/11 Jews did it. So anti-Semitism is alive and well and must be fought not just by people of Jewish faith,
yes,
but people of all faiths.
Right. And it kind of meshes with the fourth story we didn't get to today, which is the increase of hate crimes, not only all over the country, but the rising hate crimes here in Oregon and Portland.
A staggering number, and it's only growing.
And we're going to get to that next week.
Sounds good.
I think it's an important issue that needs to be illuminated every now and again, just to emphasize that the time that we are in right now, people going around, the mantra is, it's not normal. It's not normal.
It's a breeding ground for hate, bigotry, sexism, fascism, because Donna Kahn has made it okay.
Right. And we find out that the old, just evil ways of the 20th century
are cropping up again.
They're not gone, right?
Right, never really were.
Yeah, and the rock where these people hang out of has gotten disturbed, and they seem to be crawling out. And, yep, it's still around. So, but if you want to help battle that, and you want to feel like you want to become a little more erudite in your approach to life, and you want to learn stuff, you can. And we try to help do our part by doing a weekly Turning Left book endorsement, right? You can go out there, you can read a good book, you can learn something, and expand your horizon.
Yes, and learning things helps stave off Alzheimer's and dementia.
It is, very true. And so we're just doing our part, right?
Hey, helping Americans stay sane.
That's right. So this week our book endorsement is The Road to Camelot. It is by Thomas Oliphant, and it is a book about the early House and Senate runs of John F. Kennedy up till he gains the White House. And it is a behind-the-scenes revelatory account of John F. Kennedy's wily campaign to the White House, beginning with his bold failed attempt to win the vice presidential nomination in 1956. A young and undistinguished junior plots his way to the presidency and changes the way we nominate and elect presidents. John F. Kennedy and his young warriors invented modern presidential politics. They turned over accepted wisdom that his Catholicism was a barrier to winning an election and plotted a successful course that to his constituency, if I can say that actually, constituency.
There you go.
Follow the bouncy ball. It is I read it. It's a very illuminating book. It takes you into the nuts and bolts of how Kennedy really invented some modern techniques to campaigning.
Right, and actually his brother was responsible for much of it, Bobby
Kennedy, a very bright guy. And so it's a great book. Get on out there. You can go to Amazon. I think we have the book cover right there, The Road to Camelot. That's what it looks like. And it's really a fascinating book, and it takes you behind the scenes, and I think you will enjoy it. So get out there and read today. If you have any other thoughts about books and stuff, or you've read a book and you say to yourself, man, that would be kind of a cool book endorsement that has to deal with progressive politics, you can also email us. The email address, and I do a horrible job about spreading the email stuff. In fact, I even failed to give the phone number. And when we were talking about it earlier, like, oh, right. Yeah, we need to give the phone number. Yeah, we're going to do it the last 3 minutes of the show, right? You can go ahead and call us at 503. Oh, what is the it's been so long since we've done it. Doc, what is that? 503? 395 5040. So you can call in the last 30 seconds and say, hi, I want to talk about, and then I'll just hang up because we got to go.
It'll be voicemail.
Leave your voicemail.
Yeah, we can play the voicemail on the air.
Oh, that will be entertaining. You guys, beep. And, oh, that bald guy should shut his beep. Oh, great. One more last thing I want to talk about real quick is next week we will not be here. Doc is on special assignment. Sir Richard is going to be on the lecture circuit, and I have taken a most exciting underwater basket weaving class that I'm looking to get in there. It was either that or nocturnal poetry, where you're knocked out and it's just kind of free form. You talk in your sleep.
I like it.
But I was kind of afraid of what I would talk in my sleep.
Yeah, so that could come out very badly.
Yeah, I figured the underwater basket weaving would probably be a little bit better. So next week, folks, we will not be here. We will reconvene in 2 weeks. So set your clock, set your calendars, set your whatever to do it. Now, we have comments left, and so, Sir Richard, is there anything?
Yeah, I want to let people know that the Trump administration, through the Forest Service, if you're 62 and a half or older, up until sometime in August, you can actually walk into the Forest Service office in Portland, Oregon, 1222 Southwest 3rd. It's in the federal building, and get a $10 lifetime pass to all the national parks and monuments in America. After August, I believe it's 20th or something like that, or August 15th, it goes back up to $80 per year. So this is a $10 lifetime pass to every national park at the Forest Service office in the federal building, 1222 Southwest 3rd.
That's awesome.
It's a great deal.
Not only do you get to go, and this coincides great with vacation time. You want to get out there into the great wilds and go check out some of our beautiful national and local parks and other great things. Do it. Do it, and it's only cost you $10.
One time.
That's great. Last thing before we go, I want to talk about, did you hear about that hot comment made on a mic done by
Mulkowski?
Yeah, I think it was Susan Collins.
Or Susan Collins, yeah.
And the Democrat, there's a Democrat also. Of course, the Democrat comes out and says, man, Trump is nuts. He's crazy. And Susan Collins basically said, yep.
And she's a Republican.
And she's a Republican, right? So that's kind of stirring a minor kerfuffle, today. And a lot of people are saying, oh, geez, what's going to happen now? Is Trump going to get on Twitter and just lambaste her?
She doesn't care.
Or even worse, does this mean that somebody is now magically going to challenge her in the primaries and even more right-wing to try to dislodge her? Because she is one of the more moderate Republicans.
Correct, and she has a long history of being in the Senate and being really a voice for moderate behavior.
Yeah. Yes, there is still some moderate behavior out there. It's not all slid to the right, the far, far, far right. There actually is some out there, and she's in a swing state that has proven that a large majority of them have some sense in them. Still, they haven't gone full Kool-Aid drinking fascism yet. So there's holdout on some hope. So, folks, this next week, it is incumbent upon us to stress the fact that you need to get out there. You need to call your representatives, whether it be a senator or just the House or even your governor. You need to get on the horn and you need to tell them, please, please, please do not vote Trump Care in. That this is going to be
it's a disaster for America.
It's going to be a long national nightmare, and you need to feel that you can voice your opinion. You need to feel that you have a say. You need to feel that you can actually play a part in the national dialogue. You have to do this. Please do that this week, because if I guarantee you, if there is a large scale of antipathy out there, it only makes McConnell's job easier trying to slide this just crap legislation through the House and now the Senate. So, folks, please do your part. Get out there. This thing is heating up. It is come to a boil over the last 24 hours and probably will at least for the next week. So please do that. If you care about your country at all, if you care about your loved ones at all, now's the time to make your voice heard.
I think that's a great place to close.
It is. So, folks, from all of us here at the NuzBox studios here in beautiful Portland, Oregon, we will see you all again in 2 weeks. Adios, sayonara, arrivederci.
Ciao.